Hello, everyone, and welcome inside Mike's Bar and Grill in downtown Berea for Episode 5 of the BW Athletics Roadshow. My name is Matt Florjancic, and for the next hour, we'll be talking Yellow Jacket sports. First, we'll look at the week that was in Yellow Jacket athletics, and then we'll have interview segments with BW football offensive coordinator Michael Orts, quarterback Joey Marousek, and swimming and diving coach Laura Demaline. We'll then close the show out with a look at what lies ahead for the Yellow Jackets this week. Taking a look back at the week that was, we'll start on the gridiron where junior quarterback Joey Marousek threw 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns to lead the Baldwin Wallace University football team to a thrilling 33-29 victory over Marietta College in an Ohio Athletic Conference game inside Don Drum Stadium in Southeast Ohio. BW improved to 3-2 with the victory and 3-1 in Ohio Athletic Conference play, as they also improved their record in the all-time series with Marietta to 38-7 overall. Marietta fell to 2-2, 1-2 in Ohio Athletic Conference play. BW has now won 15 of the last 17 meetings against the Pioneers. Offensively for the Yellow Jackets, Marousek completed 18 of 33 passes for 240 yards with 4 touchdowns against 2 interceptions. Senior All-OAC running back John Murray Jr. rushed for 93 yards, and senior wide receiver Darius Stokes caught 8 passes for 84 yards with 1 touchdown. Defensively, senior linebacker Mason Levasseur recorded a game-high 11 tackles. Switching over to the women's golf team, the BW Yellow Jackets placed 5th in the OAC Fall Preview at River Greens Golf Course. BW finished 5th out of 7 teams with a 2-day total of 734 on the par 72 5,808-yard River Greens layout. The top 5 leading BW were sophomore Brooke Newsom, who tied for 9th and carded rounds of 88 and 89 for a total of 177 for the Clyde native. Freshman Alana Smith out of Fremont Ross High School tied for 17th with rounds of 93 and 89 for a total of 182. Sophomore Hannah Ogden tied for 22nd and shot rounds of 102 and 88 for a total of 190. Junior academic All-OAC selection Caitlin Olak tied for 32nd with rounds of 108 and 94 for a total of 202. And sophomore Haley Kalaman placed 47th with rounds of 91 and 91. Men's soccer, the Baldwin Wallace men's soccer team dropped their Ohio Athletic Conference home opener to Marietta College by a final score of 2-1 on the Trestle Field inside George Finney Stadium last Saturday. Freshman midfielder Owen Reyes scored the lone goal for the Yellow Jackets. It was his 3rd tally of the season. Sophomore goalkeeper Zoltan Nagy, the OAC men's soccer defensive player of the week last week, led the way with 4 saves on 6 shots faced. BW led the half with 8 shots compared to Marietta's 4, but they still found themselves on the wrong end of a 1-0 score at halftime. The Yellow Jackets led with 2 corner kick opportunities, and both goalkeepers turned away 2 shots in that first half. Reyes scored the equalizer on a penalty kick in the 55th minute, but then the Pioneers took the lead for good on an unassisted goal in the 79th minute. The Baldwin Wallace University women's soccer team also fell to Marietta College in an Ohio Athletic Conference match by a final score of 1-0 on Marietta Field. Sophomore goalkeeper Katie Scott led the way with 11 saves. BW was outshot 12-7 in the first half, but they did lead with 3 corner kicks. Scott led the half with 4 saves compared to 3 for Marietta's keeper. In the second half, it was more back and forth play, but in the 77th minute, Marietta was awarded a free kick, which paid dividends as they put the ball into the back of the net for the final tally. Marietta led the half with 2 corner kicks to BW's 1. The Pioneers took 10 shots in that second half, while the Yellow Jackets took 8, and Scott turned away 7 of the 8 shots that were on goal. The Baldwin Wallace University women's volleyball team hosted Marietta College to open their Ohio Athletic Conference schedule in Ersprung Gymnasium at the Lou Higgins Center. Last Saturday, the Yellow Jackets fell to the Pioneers in 4 hard-fought sets by scores of 15-25, 25-23, 13-25, and 19-25. BW dropped to 9-7 on the season, 0-1 in Ohio Athletic Conference play, while the Pioneers improved to 13-4 overall and 1-1 in OAC play. key stats along the way for the Yellow Jackets. Gabby Schlecht recorded a team-high 9 kills to lead the offense. Olivia Zawadzki notched a double-double with 25 assists and 13 digs and added 3 service aces. Sophomore All-OAC libero Lauren Gardner from Avon and St. Joseph Academy totaled a match-high 14 digs. The Bolton Walsh University men's cross-country team placed 24th at the NCAA Division III National Preview hosted by Olivet College at the Forest Acres Golf Course last weekend. BW placed 24th out of 36 teams with a total of 696 points. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology was the team champ with just 62 points. BW was led by senior David Russo, who placed 72nd. Junior Nick Descani finished 162nd. Junior Garrick Stanley placed 173rd. Freshman Stephen Faulty finished 179th. And sophomore Carter Almady placed 192nd. The Bolton Walsh University women's cross-country team placed 23rd at the NCAA Division III National Preview hosted by Olivet College at the Forest Acres Golf Club. BW placed 23rd out of 36 teams with a total of 673 points. The University of Chicago was the team champion with 59 points. Sophomore All-OAC selection Hope Murphy placed 46th to lead the Yellow Jackets. She ran the course in a time of 23 minutes and 13.4 seconds. Sophomore Jalen Jaquay finished 142nd. Junior academic All-OAC performer Maddie Miller finished 154th. Sophomore Cassie Kolenchuk placed 214th. And freshman Katie Pleco placed 216th in a time of 25 minutes and 46 seconds flat. That's the look at the week that was for the Yellow Jackets. And now we're going to welcome in our first guest, and we're going to start with football offensive coordinator Michael Orts. We're going to welcome Coach to the program.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good, Coach. First of all, thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to the program.
Absolutely, happy to be here tonight.
And also a belated welcome to the Bolton Wallace family. This is your first year as the offensive coordinator. How's the transition been going for you?
To say it's been a chaotic summer, it would be an understatement. Got the job here early June and moved the family, the 2 kiddos, the dogs out in, what was that, the first day of practice, August 5th. So it's been a whirlwind, but it's been an awesome experience so far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Whirlwind is probably the best way to sum it up, the nicest way to sum it up for sure.
Absolutely.
But you come here after a long career up with your alma mater, St. John's, up in Minnesota, tradition-rich program.
Absolutely.
Talk about your time there and what that program meant to you, but also what brought you to BW, because that's a hard sell, getting somebody to leave a place that you're so close to.
Yeah, no, I obviously had a great experience at St. John's, and I wouldn't have left if it wasn't for an awesome opportunity here at BW. You know, I always felt that Division III athletics is really the path that you have to take because you actually do get kids that care about actually going to school. So I did the Division II experience for a year, found out it really wasn't for me. Went back to St. John's the last 4 years and was coaching there for 10 years. So I had just an awesome experience working with Coach John Glardy, all-time winningest coach in college football history. Learned a lot of lessons from him. But ultimately, I felt like I needed to move on because there really wasn't much opportunity for growth, and getting an opportunity to work with the coaching staff here, Coach Hilver and all these guys, it's been a pretty incredible experience. It's
a completely different region from what you're used to working into. So how's that adjustment been in terms of recruiting base? I mean, it's completely different from what you've been used to.
Yeah, no, I did a lot of national recruiting down in Texas and Louisiana, so I knew how to pronounce those names. But you know, I've been getting kind of tested on the different Ohio towns and the nicknames of schools, and I'm still figuring it all out. But obviously, with Coach Cully, our recruiting coordinator, is doing an awesome job, and we got a really, really good freshman class. So they're kind of breaking me into it, and I'm kind of figuring the ins and outs of Ohio high school football. I mean, but that was a huge attraction. You know, I had no idea really that, my dad's from Texas, so I'm very aware of Texas high school football and the bands and all of the fanfare with that. But I had no idea Ohio was like that. I mean, I was used to just I know they have a really good, tough brand of football here, but I didn't realize that the fanfare was here with Ohio high school football. So that's been a really cool experience to see.
Yeah, and it really doesn't matter what corner of the state you're in either.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you'll get disputes depending upon who you talk to and who their alma mater is.
Yeah.
But, you're right down the road from the cradle of football where everything started professionally in Canton.
Yep.
You've got that rivalry with Massillon Washington High School.
Which I've been working
McKinley.
on saying Massillon, not Massillon. Like I grew like that was what I always thought, because everybody knows what I thought was Massillon, but Massillon, everybody's very aware of that throughout the country.
As long as you know that they're the Tigers, you'll be in okay shape.
I'll be okay.
You'll
Good
be
enough.
all right.
But no, the high school football here has been incredible. I've been to a handful of games already, and people care about football in the state, and that's what I love about it, because coming from Minnesota, the football it's a very good brand of football. There's not the high-end talent that you see here. It's a lot of Division III, Division II type players, but people care about hockey in the state of Minnesota, and here being in football world here, it's pretty awesome.
I do have to thank you on a personal note for one of the best players that ever came through the college team that I cheer for besides the BW. He was a linebacker that came out of Minnesota, so thank you very much.
James Laurinaitis, huh?
Yeah, that would be the one, yes.
I actually coached with his defensive coordinator. I coached high school ball for a couple years, so he actually taught James a lot of how to prepare for the game and whatnot. So there's been a few Minnesota guys. Jay Sean Cornell came through, but Laurinaitis obviously
he's
right there.
He's the headliner for sure.
Yeah.
But getting back to your career now, you worked with a Ghilardi Trophy winner up at St. John's. You were with quarterbacks that led Division III in passing yards, touchdowns, and efficiency rating. What did those experiences teach you about developing quarterbacks that you can apply to your job here?
Well, I can tell you the most important thing is recruiting. And, I think we're getting a pretty good experience here with Joey, and Reese Waymer's been an awesome kid to work with. But, I mean, it all starts – you got to have a pretty good piece to mold with. And, I was blessed to work with Jackson Erdman, who won the Ghilardi Trophy, and a kid who I think will have a pretty good chance, Aaron Severson, back at St. John's right now. But, I mean, a lot of it is just like, I always say it's kind of like setting the table. Here's what you're going to see. Here's kind of the setup of what to play. But at the end of the day, kid, here's how you're making your decision. Go ahead and go out and make a play. And I always say, try not to overcoach the kids. You see kids, especially, I see it a lot at the youth levels that I've watched practice over the years, and you see the dads are like coaching their kids up on absolutely every single thing. It's like, get out of the way, let the kids make the play, and that's kind of what I learned from coaching the quarterback position. But it helps to have a good QB, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And BW has a different kind of look at quarterback than they did last year. They graduated a couple of kids, but you still had Reese Waymer, who I love watching him play because he's tough as nails. He knows how to play in his own body, meaning he is small in terms of height, and in terms there's not a lot of meat to him. No. He's a smaller college athlete, but he knows how to avoid those big hits, and he really brings that intelligence factor to the game. Is that kind of what you see when you watch game film of Reese and what he's able to bring?
The interesting thing is Reese reminds me of my favorite college football player of all time, and I don't know if I should admit this being that we're in Cleveland here, but Johnny Manziel, Johnny Football, That's
okay, you know what? Where I thought you were going and where you ended up were two completely different things, and it wasn't bad.
Okay.
It wasn't bad.
And I'll say this, Reese has that it factor about him. I mean, Joey's obviously been fantastic, but Reese has fought his way for playing time. And he's, obviously Joey earned OAC Offense Player of the Week, but Reese has been doing everything to earn his playing time because he's too dang good of an athlete to keep off the field. But he definitely has that it factor. He may not always be right with his decision, but at the end of the day, the play ends up being right because he's so dang athletic. And, people kind of underestimate how well he can throw the football. I think you saw it here this last weekend with that touchdown pass to Darius Stokes. He can really wing it around there. And, if Joey hadn't come in and transferred, I mean, we'd be having a different story about how great Reese is and leading the team. He's an awesome kid to work with.
Yeah, so talk about that. Joey comes in as a transfer quarterback. How have you seen him progress since he's been in the program, and what ultimately led to him being the guy that was going to be trusted to be the starter?
Well, I can tell you it was a pretty dang good three-way battle. Nico Pappas actually did a really nice job too, coming into camp, and we gave him a couple days each running with the ones, they all did some different things well, but ultimately it was between Reese and Joey. And Joey just, he can push the ball downfield, and me being a pass game coordinator, I'm always going to lean a little bit more. I think your guys are seeing a little bit more passing game here compared to the last few years. So I'm always going to kind of lean with a guy that can kind of push the ball down the field. But, Joey has, he's been coached pretty dang well. So I don't want to take too much credit because I like kids. The last 2 kids that I've coached over at St. John's were Division I transfers, and they got excellent coaching. So once again, it was, here's the tools that I'm going to give you, and let me get the heck out of the way. So that's, and Joey's talent's starting to shine through. I think a lot of the, we struggled the first few weeks offensively, and I think guys are still trying to gel offensively with all the new pieces, the new playbook and everything. And I think the last 2 weekends, you're starting to see us progress offensively, but that's a big credit to Joey and Reese of what they've been doing offensively for us.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride over those first 3 weeks. You have a good performance but come out on the wrong side against Mount St. Joe's. Yep. You struggle a little bit against Wilmington, have the hiccup against that team that we don't talk about from University Heights.
I've learned that.
And now you're on a 2-game winning streak after that comeback against Ohio Northern and another comeback against Marietta. This offense, when it's clicking, at least over the last 2 weeks, it's shown that you're never really out of a game.
Yep, and once again, that's a big credit to the players around Joey. The receiving core really didn't get a lot of credit, and it was pretty unproven, and I was surprised at the type of talent that we had here, because on film didn't really get a chance in the last few years, and some really good wide receivers. But it's been a fun group to coach, just because you can really see the fourth quarters, the last 2 weekends, you've started to see, oh, we can do this, and the kids are starting to get a little bit more belief in themselves, and the confidence is coming through. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how we progress here the next couple weeks, and I can tell you our practices have ramped up quite a bit. Yeah,
one of the wide receivers, you mentioned him, Darius Stokes, has just really come on strong in his last 2 games. How nice is it to see him translate the success that he had in that fourth quarter against Ohio Northern and back it up with another standout performance against Marietta?
Yep, no, it's awesome to see in Darius's leadership. He's really stepped it up here. It's with him and Elijah Arnett, Boards, all those guys. Novak's been doing an awesome job. So basically a lot of the guys have just finally started getting comfortable with what we're trying to do offensively and just trying to figure out the ins and outs. There's a handful of different route adjustments that we do, and we weren't getting those done in the first half of the year. But now we're starting to get there, and I'm pretty excited, like I said, to see where we're going to progress to.
One guy who really emerged in the Ohio Northern game was Tim Conwell. Yeah. He goes out there, and he didn't have a pretty stat line coming into the game, but then goes in there and catches arguably the biggest pass of the game, and it wasn't even a touchdown. It was the fourth down slant that he ran from the left side of the formation, caught it right over the middle, got the first down, and
took a hit.
Extended what became a touchdown drive. And like you said, he was able to hold on to the ball and take a hit. And then later in the game, he makes a special teams tackle and then follows it up with the big touchdown catch. It was kind of funny and fun to watch. Him and Stokes go back and forth and play a game of, can you top this?
Yes.
And that's really it was the perfect example of that infectious playmaking, where one guy makes a play and the other's like, well, now it's my turn. I'm going to go make a play.
Well, and that's the crazy thing about this wide receiver core. I mean, if you have met Timmy Conwell, we joke around in the office. We're like, is that kid part of the cross-country team? Because he comes in wearing his Brooks tennis shoes, and it literally looks like he just came back from running a 5K. And here this kid does what he does. A couple of the kids, he comes in as a freshman, and they're like, this kid's not that good. And, after a couple days, we're like, well, we better get him with the 1s and 2s. And once again, that just goes to show how deep our wide receiver core is, because, I mean, Jake Novak, he's got 1 catch on the year, and he's about as good as it gets as far as a wide receiver. And Michael Love's starting to come into his own. Like I said, we go about 7-8 deep right there, and I feel really, really comfortable with that group of guys that are playing.
Yeah, the nice thing is, unlike previous years where you almost see teams pass because they have to, you guys are coming out and passing when you want to, and I think that's a big difference. That goes a long way in keeping your opponents off balance.
Well, absolutely, and I think it's helped John Murray's game out quite a bit, just trying to keep the defense back, keep a few miles off John and his body. But, I think we're starting to get a little bit mix of the pass and run. And me, right away at that first game of the year, obviously we were going to pound John there and try to run out the clock, and he got his 25 carries or whatever it was. But we definitely we're going to be much more dangerous as we continue on, because like I said, this wide receiver core. I mean, I think our leading receiver actually might be Vinny LeMayo, a kid that I haven't even mentioned. So that just goes to show how much depth and how many playmakers we have. And I think once we combine that, and we got some really good depth at running back, and the pieces are starting to come together on the offense line. Obviously, replacing 4 starters, that's a pretty tough job. But Coach Culley's done a great job getting those young guys ready. I mean, starting a true freshman there at left guard. It's been. I can understand why we had our challenges, and trust me, I was beyond disappointed in the first few games that we had. So it's pretty nice to see that the last 2 games are starting to click a little bit. So I'm hoping the bye week doesn't slow us down too much with the momentum, and we build off that.
Before we let you go, just a few more questions. There were a lot of question marks around this team in terms of the offensive line, what was going to happen at quarterback. But you mentioned a young man who wasn't a question mark. He was going to be at the top of the depth chart if he was coming back, and that's John Murray Jr. How nice is it as a coordinator to have that option to rely on a running back to help carry you if the passing game is off to a slow start?
Well, he's the ultimate security blanket, because I mean, he can make so many different guys miss. I mean, that first game, like I said, 25 carries or whatever, 180, 190 yards, whatever he had. He broke a lot of tackles to get that many yards. So I mean, we definitely relied heavily upon him. And the thing that people don't talk about with John, and you'll see him in there even when we're throwing the football, he is an incredible pass protector. He might be, if he couldn't run the ball as well, he'd probably be our starting right guard center or something like that, because people will not see it on film. When he drive, he had 2 or 3 huge, just absolutely picked up a blitz, and nobody sees those things. And that's a great thing about John. Behind the scenes, he does a lot of those important. These are
to compete and work for everything that you have is going to be awesome. So being able to get around those guys, you know, a bunch of competitors that know how to win. They've gotten to the highest level of the sport, getting all the way to the College World Series, and being able to learn from Coach DeAngelis, the assistant who just got, you know, National Coach of the Year, Assistant Coach of the Year.
National Assistant Coach of the Year.
And then obviously Coach Harrison will be awesome experience.
Yep, no doubt. You came into the program, you had to earn your spot. Coach Orts mentioned that it was a tough battle, a tough decision between you, Reese, and then what Nico Pappas was able to do in preseason camp. But first and foremost, you know, what's it been like to win the job and then also deal with the ups and downs of Reese coming in and trying to help spark the offense?
No, yeah, it's definitely been a interesting couple of months, but, you know, competition is what, you know, leads to success. So, you know, being able to go out there compete, knowing you have to be on top of it every single day, and you're, you know, being prepared for practice, going out, you know, and you have to perform because, you know, there's a guy that wants it just as bad as you, wants to win just as bad as you. You know, Reese is an awesome football player, awesome quarterback. You just look at the things that he's already done this season, coming in against Wilmington and putting that game away for us. And, you know, coming against Marietta and getting that big touchdown pass in the second half, and just all the big plays that he's able to make with his legs. And, you know, he's just a spark plug, and, you know, guys really love him on the team. And it's been fun to be able to be in the same position room with him and, you know, learn from him and compete with him. And, you know, he pushes me every day, I push him every day, and at the end of the day, we just want to win. So, you know, being able to work off of each other and do the best that we can for the team and make sure we, you know, put points on the board and, you know, at the end of the day win. It's been a really fun experience.
Well, winning is something you've been doing a whole lot of in the last couple of weeks. Talk about first that win against Ohio Northern. The offense struggled through 3 quarters, but then it came alive in the second half, really in that fourth quarter. Tim Conwell steps up, makes a big reception on a 4th down to extend a touchdown drive, and then he and Darius Stokes go back and forth with the long touchdowns. Did that build some confidence in terms of you trusting your guys down the field to make those plays?
Yeah, I think I've always had a lot of trust in them. I think it just came down to, you know, finally putting it all together and executing it on the field in meaningful situations. You know, we talked with Coach Orts and the offense, talking about, you know, next play mentality. You know, if something doesn't go right, it's like, all right, just wash it, next play, move on. You know, there's going to be another chance to make an opportunity happen. And, you know, that was the perfect start for us right in that Ohio Northern game. You know, we're down. Just like, guess what? We still got 7.5 minutes left in the game. We still have plenty of time to get some stuff going. Dude, Timmy stepped up, 84-yard touchdown, be able to get that thing rolling. Defense gets another great stop. Then, you know, Darius be able to get that long touchdown. It's like, okay, we know we can make these plays. We've built the trust in practice. Now we've definitely shown it. We've shown it in the games coming back against Ohio Northern. And I think that's what really catapulted us in those last 2 drives against Marietta as well. It's just like, we've done it before, we can do it again. Now let's just do it, you know, throughout the game as well. So
yeah, let's start a little earlier.
Start a little bit earlier, save a little bit of a, you know, panic or heartache. But I think that's really just a good confidence builder going into the second half of the season. Now I think this bye week comes at really a perfect time for us to really just rest, recharge, get our legs back underneath us, you know, ice up some bumps and bruises, and then just kind of work on the fundamentals this week, and then next week get ready for Muskie. Yeah,
before we let you go, just a couple more questions. First and foremost, when you look at Tim Conwell, he didn't have a whole lot of gaudy statistics coming into the Ohio Northern game, but he arguably had 2 of the biggest plays of the game with the 4th down reception and then the touchdown. What did you see in him that allowed you to just be able to say, hey, I'm going to throw it to you in this money situation, and I know you're going to come up with a big play?
Right. I think it all just goes back to practice and preseason camp, and even some of the time after I decided I was coming to Baldwin Wallace back in the summer when I came and met some of the guys and threw with them in the summer. It's like, you know, you look at him, he's not a big presence, but he's just an unbelievable football player, a guy who I think could probably be an all-conference player at some point in his career. And he came in camp and just absolutely wowed everybody on the team. We're like, wow, who is this kid? Freshman coming in. He's making plays left and right, catches the ball, puts his body on the line, runs unbelievable routes. So as soon as that play was called, I was like, you know, let's get him the ball, let's see what he can do. And he made an unbelievable move on the kid, got wide open, and I was like, just got to put it out there for him, let him run under it, make a play. And yeah, just really one example of that wide receiver room, and really just the team as a whole, guys that just stepped up during training camp, stepped up all throughout the season at different times. Guys on defense, other guys on offense. So you know that they can make a play because they put the work in. They put the work in throughout practice, and you see the all throughout the 5 games that we've had, just really guys stepping up in big situations that really turns the tide of games.
How nice is it to have a bye week in the middle of the season instead of, say, week 2?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think guys are a little bit beat up right now. Legs are getting a little dead, and now having this bye week right now, just get it back underneath us, get some treatment, get off of our legs a little bit, have a couple practices where we can just kind of slow down a little bit, focus on the fundamentals, but not lose that focus of what we need to do. So they're not, even though it'll be a little bit slower practices, they're not going to be any less focused mentally. So those will be really big for us to really sharpen in on all the focus on what we did well, and then also correct those things we haven't done well to make sure that we have a little bit more smooth of the second half of the season, just pick up as many wins as we possibly can.
You've played behind a young offensive line this year, but how have you seen them come along and develop over the first 5 games of the season?
Oh yeah, it's been awesome. I mean, 4 out of the 5 guys being completely brand new, coming into their starting roles, just seeing the confidence that they have now. Compared to where it was even preseason, just it's leaps and bounds of where they were in the preseason. I'm really thankful for all those guys. I mean, you look at some of the defensive linemen that we faced in the past 3 weeks, from John Carroll, the really good defensive end, from ONU, All-American from Marietta. I mean, these guys are some dudes that they're going up against, but hey, they're putting their bodies on the line. They're giving me time to get rid of the ball, and I mean, and it shows. And they've been doing a really good job, and I'm really glad that they're in front of me.
Yeah, no doubt. They've really come along, especially in the last 2 weeks, to make sure you have the protection to make the plays down the stretch. Before we let you go, with all the improvements that you've seen, what do you think the future holds for this team over the final 5 weeks of the year?
If we have a really good bye week, if we really just lock in and decide, hey, we want to have a really couple good practices this week and just don't let ourselves kind of fall off and get lackadaisical at practice, if we really just mentally focus, and then starting on Sunday, lock in on Muskingum, just taking it one game at a time, just like on the offense, taking it, one play at a time, next play. If we just take it one game at a time, not look too far ahead, I think we can really see some really special things, by the end of the season, put ourselves in a position to make some really special memories. And I think that's what it's all about, not looking too far ahead, but just looking at what the task in front of us and trying to compete every day in practice, and then that'll lead to good outcomes on Saturdays.
Well, Joey, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much.
Always
sir.
appreciate it. Congratulations on being named the OAC Player of the Week. Go get a water. I know you were struggling through that interview. I appreciate it. All right, and next up, our final interview of the evening, we're going to welcome in the men's and women's swimming and diving coach, Laura Demaline. Coach, first and foremost, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure. Throughout your career here at Baldwin-Wallace, you've coached almost 36 Ohio Athletic Conference champions, 5 OAC Divers of the Year, 78 All-OAC performers, a bunch of All-OAC relay teams, and a handful of national qualifiers and All-Americans. Just an outstanding career that you've been able to build for yourself here. What's been the secret to the success over your tenure here?
Well, I think that the first thing would be our outstanding staff. I say all the time, the best assistant coaches in the OAC, and so coaches sort of set the personality of the team and the culture of the program, and so our staff has been able to attract some, just tremendous individuals who really are willing to put the work in and see the potential in our program and, want to help elevate it. So we ask each freshman as they come in that in 4 years, we hope you leave the program better than you found it. So great staff, incredible team culture, and hard work.
How long did it take to really start developing that culture?
Oh, goodness. I would say definitely the first 4 to 5 years, we were looking for those recruits who wanted to come in. There was a strong program prior to me coming in 2011, and it was finding swimmers who could see the potential, and sometimes that takes a few years, but we really lucked out with as you mentioned, we've had a few All-Americans. We lucked out with some people that wanted to come and make a difference at BW, and as they came in, then we were able to start building a little bit at a time. And it sort of has resulted in what we have today, which we're really proud of and so excited about.
Yeah, part of being a college coach is you develop the program, but you always have to keep an eye on what's ahead in terms of that recruiting aspect. How have you been able to bring the athletes that you have over the last 12 years into the program?
Sure, that's a great question. One, I think it's building relationships with coaches in the area. So being able to show them that we're going to care for their swimmers and divers when they send them to us. We're going to help them be the best athletes they can be. And, you know, honestly, per the Division III model, they're going to graduate, you know, and go on to make this world a better place. So, you know, establishing those relationships with coaches, and then I truly think our team sells Baldwin-Wallace and our team sells the program. We believe in a team-first mentality, and so we ask the team to make sure that the recruits we're bringing on campus can tell what our team is about, and make sure that that type of culture is something they want to be a part of, because we do expect the team to help protect that culture just as much as we do the coaches.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you mentioned being that true student athlete that goes on to be productive long after they decide to hang up the swim trunks for the final time. You serve as an assistant coordinator for student athlete services and a co-moderator for the student athlete advisory committee. Why do you take those roles on, and how important are they to the development of the total student, not just the athlete?
Yeah, so the student athlete advisory committee is something I've been interested in since I started coaching at Canisius College. It used to be, oh goodness, what did they call it? I'll think of it at some point. But there used to be life skills.
Life skills, okay.
And so it was an NCAA initiative back in the early 2000s to help better prepare NCAA athletes for the world, and make sure that the education they were receiving were classes they should be taking. And it sort of started at Division I and then made its way to Division II and III. When I got to Baldwin-Wallace, it was Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and I thought every NCAA institution that has varsity athletics has to have a SAC. And so when I was offered the opportunity to work with SAC, I thought, well, this is a way that I can get to know athletes that aren't just on my team. So to be able to work with now 24 different sports and get to know their programs, their coaches, you know, their athletes, I think it's helped make me a better coach. So selfishly, I keep doing it because I do think it's helping me. But it feels like it's a way we can impact the Baldwin-Wallace community too. So I get to work with some of our best athletes on campus, which is really awesome.
You've worked at multiple levels of NCAA programs with D1, D3. What is it about Division III that makes it special and makes you stay at this level when maybe you could, you know, take care of yourself and advance to a higher level?
Sure. So two answers for that, and I'll try to be brief.
No. You don't need to be. Good stories are good stories.
So my dad actually graduated from Baldwin-Wallace in 1975. He swam for a couple of years here. And so I had grown up hearing about Baldwin-Wallace, and some stories I would not share on this podcast. But some of his very best friends were here with him at Baldwin-Wallace. And so I just grew up. I live on the west side in Avon Lake, and so when I was little, Berea seemed hours away. But hearing about this place that, you know, where he had met his very best friends and had this great education and this great experience. So, you know, when my swimming career ended and I got into coaching, I didn't necessarily, you know, say, well, someday I want to go back to Baldwin-Wallace and coach where my dad swam. But when I had my daughter Adela, and you know, the opportunity to be back by family became available, my husband's family is from and
Right.
where my dad went, and where all of these amazing stories, where they came from. So I think that's part of what drew me. The other piece was just the people. I walked around campus when I had my interview, and everybody, I could tell that BW was important to them. I also could tell that everybody wanted to build something here, and that was, I saw the opportunity to build something. So that attracted me to the job. My first day on campus was our first day of practice that year. Not how I would have preferred to start, but you just, feet to the fire right away. But I remember sitting in the pool watching the swimmers warm up, and I thought to myself, because I had coached scholarship athletes prior to it, that, wow, this is the first time in my career that I know what is motivating each person to be here, and that's to be the best swimmer they can be. And I think that's helped me stay in Division III as well. I love the opportunity to develop the whole person. Every single one of our swimmers and divers are just incredible individuals, so I love getting to coach them. They work so hard, and they're getting pretty fast.
Yeah.
And our divers are really, really good. But to see them be able to develop as individuals and to be a part of that aspect of their college career too is really special. So Division III has just been a great fit for me.
How long did you know you wanted to be a coach? Did you know when you were an athlete that you were going to take that next step and stay in the sport but in a different capacity?
So truthfully, I started coaching when I was 14 for a summer league swim team, and I did that all through college, and I just absolutely loved it. It wasn't until I came home after I graduated that one of my club coaches was like, have you considered coaching? And I said, well, nobody's ever really talked to me about that. Can that be your job? And he goes, it's my job.
It's mine, yeah.
And I said, yeah, well, that's true. So that was really the first time I had been accepted to law school and was weighing that next step in my academic career. And probably an acceptance that should have made me really, really excited. Kind of made me sit back and think a little bit. And my parents actually said, hey, what's going on? And I said, I think that I would miss swimming. And it's just been such a big part of my life, and I want it to continue to be a part of my life. So sort of took a little bit of a right turn, and 20 years later, here I am, and I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And I think I've not been a very energetic lawyer, so I think this is a better fit.
Yeah, you're comfortable with the decision, no looking back?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're getting ready to start the season in a couple of weeks. You have the inter-squad meet, I believe, coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
So what are you expecting out of that, and how has the preseason gone for the swimming and diving team?
Yeah, so we actually started our third week of practice today, and they're just looking great. We've sort of added a few challenge sets in where, it's supposed to be a challenge, and some of them you are pushing to failure to know what that feels like. But they've really been rising to the occasion, which has been really exciting for our staff to see. The brown and gold beat, we love to be competitive.
Yeah.
So we have our inter-squad teams that the freshmen are drafted to their first year, and you stay on your brown or gold team your whole 4 years. And one of my favorite things when we posted the draft on Friday was alums chiming in, brown team for life, gold team rules, brown team rules. And that's like the fun part about it, is that you realize it's something that was impactful.
It's amazing what people remember about their time,
right?
Isn't it?
Yeah. But it's a way for us to get up on the blocks and race. It's a way for the freshmen to get first races out, and kind of
jitters,
settle into. And last year the meet came down to 7 points, to where we did like a rescore just to be sure. So the teams are extremely even. Our assistant coaches are the coaches, and they make little gentleman bets between themselves, all following NCAA rules.
We have to clarify that for
it's
sure.
all completely above board. But it's one of those things where, again, what we're looking for from them is to get up and race, and it's a way for us to see where everyone is before our first school meet, which is at Wilmington on October 15th. So we have about 2 weeks till that.
On the men's team last year, you had just one senior, which meant a lot of younger swimmers were able to gain some really valuable experience. How have those underclassmen grown into their roles now as potential team leaders?
Yeah, that was one of the best parts of our preseason goal meetings, were the many sophomores that came forward and said, Coach, we want to win a championship, so what do you need from us? How do we take that step and make that happen? So to hear that from 19 and 20-year-olds is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have some great leadership in our junior and senior class, and so they definitely have good role models to follow. But I really think that they were freshmen last year, the now sophomores, the impact that they made on this program, it's kind of, well, we're here now, we're not going backwards, so how do we take those next steps? How do we make an impact not only at the conference level, but at the NCAA level as well?
Yeah, on the women's side, you had a few more experienced swimmers in the program. You had a handful of seniors last year. But again, you still have to develop those leaders of the future. And how have the women that have been given their opportunity to show what they're about, how have they excelled in their roles?
Yeah, so the numbers on the women's team were a little bit more even. There wasn't that huge class of 20 guys last year. 18, I misspoke, I'm sorry. A lot.
Close enough.
Yeah,
it counts. That's a lot of new bodies in the pool.
So the women's team is a little bit more evened out with that, but their goals are the same. And so I think it's where, we practice as a team, we travel, we compete as a team. But at OAC, as it is the women's team championship and the men's team championship. So the women are returning more conference champions on the women's side, and they've set the bar very high for their teammates. So the best part is seeing them cheering each other on and trying to help the entire team move forward, knowing that person you're cheering for is also the person you're racing against. So it's a great, healthy competitiveness within that women's program, and I think they're going to do some very, very good things this year.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for the time. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you. I wish you the best of luck, starting with this weekend's scrimmage, or brown and gold scrimmage, if you will. And then once you get into the meat of your regular season schedule, which gets underway on the 15th at Wilmington. So best of luck, Coach. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
That's Coach Laura Demaline of the swimming and diving teams here at Baldwin-Wallace. Before we get on out of here, want to take a look at the week ahead. First of all, the football team is on a bye week. The Yellow Jackets will be back in action on Saturday, October 15th, when they host an OAC Hall of Fame and 44th annual Lee Tressel Shrine Classic game against Muskingum University on the Tressel Field at the George Finney Stadium. Kickoff for that contest is 1:30 p.m. The Yellow Jacket women's golf team is back in action on Sunday, October 9th, when they travel to Willoughby Hills to compete in the John Carroll Fall Invitational at Manakiki Golf Course. The men's golf team is actually in action today and tomorrow as they compete in the NCAA Division III Region 5 Fall Preview. The event is hosted by Penn State Altoona at Virtues Golf Club in Nashport, Ohio. The Yellow Jacket men's soccer team is back in action on Wednesday when they travel to Alliance for an Ohio Athletic Conference matchup against the University of Mount Union at 7 p.m. at Karas Stadium. Then on Saturday, the Yellow Jackets will host Wilmington College at Tressel Field. Kickoff for that contest is 2 p.m. The women's soccer team will be back in action on Wednesday, October 4th, when it hosts OAC opponent Mount Union at 7 p.m. on the Tressel Field at the George Finney Stadium. Then on Saturday, the Yellow Jackets will head south down I-71 to face Wilmington College for a 7 p.m. kickoff. The BW volleyball team returns to action on Wednesday as it also travels to Alliance for an OAC contest against the University of Mount Union. First serve is at 7 p.m. inside the McPherson Academic and Athletic Complex. The Yellow Jackets return to Ersprung Gymnasium next Saturday, October 8th, when they host Wilmington College in a Volley for the Cure game. The Yellow Jacket men's and women's cross-country teams will return to the course on Saturday, October 15th, as they travel to Oberlin to compete in the Inter-Regional Rumble on the Oberlin College cross-country course. And the men's and women's swimming and diving teams will compete in the brown and gold inter-squad meet at the BW Natatorium on Saturday. And then on Saturday, October 15th, they open the season at Wilmington College before hosting the BW Fall Duels on a Friday and Saturday, October 21st and 22nd, respectively. That'll do it for this episode of the BW Roadshow. But before we get on out of here, I want to send out some thank yous, first of all, to my guests. Football offensive coordinator Michael Orts, OAC Offensive Player of the Week quarterback Joey Marousek, and swimming and diving coach Laura Demaline. Also want to thank the athletic communications and the athletic departments here at BW for all their work in making this show possible. Thank you to our gracious hosts here at Mike's Bar and Grill. And finally, thank you to you, all the Yellow Jacket fans, both here at Mike's Bar and Grill and those watching around the world. We always appreciate your support. And until next time, I'm Matt Florjancic saying have a great night and go Jackets.